The morning sun rose over the colony on Kepler 442b, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Captain Hanari stood on the observation deck, her coffee steaming in the cool air. She watched the streets below come alive with people starting their day. Children ran to school. Farmers headed to the fields. Engineers walked toward the power station. This was home now, she thought. Not Earth, not anymore. Nari had been on this planet for 5 years. She remembered arriving with the first wave of settlers, when this place was nothing but empty red dirt and strange purple plants. Now it was a real town. They had built houses, schools, hospitals, and farms. Over 3,000 people lived here. They called it New Haven. She heard footsteps behind her. 3 teenagers walked onto the deck carrying training equipment. Kim Daeho was 17, tall and serious. Park Soman was 16, small but fierce. Lee Jiwan was also 17, quiet and thoughtful. These were her best students. She had trained them since they were children. "Good morning, Captain," Daeho said. He always spoke formally, always respectful. "Morning, cubs," Nari replied with a smile. She called them that because they reminded her of young animals learning to hunt, clumsy sometimes but full of potential. "Ready for training?" "Always," Soman said. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. She loved these morning sessions. They trained for 2 hours. Nari taught them how to move silently, how to read the land, how to think 3 steps ahead of an enemy. These skills seemed unnecessary on a peaceful colony, but Nari knew better. The galaxy was not a safe place. Humanity had enemies out there. Big ones, mean ones, ones with better weapons and faster ships. "Why do we need to learn this?" Jiwan asked during a break. "We're not soldiers. We're just colonists." Nari looked at him carefully. "Because the universe doesn't care what we want to be," she said. "Sometimes it forces us to become what we need to be, and I'd rather you be ready than sorry." After training, they walked back to town together. People waved at them. The baker, Mr. Choi, gave them fresh bread. Mrs. Kim invited them for dinner later. This was community. This was family. Everyone looked after everyone. At noon, the alarms went off. Nari's communicator buzzed urgently. She answered it while running toward the command center. "Report." "Unknown ships entering orbit," the scanner operator said. His voice shook. 5 vessels, big ones. Military grade. Nari's heart sank. This was the moment she had feared for years. She reached the command center and looked at the screens. The ships were massive, dark metal covered in weapon arrays. They looked like floating fortresses. Nothing friendly ever looked like that. A message came through. A face appeared on the screen. It was not human. The creature had 4 eyes, sharp teeth and scaled skin that looked like armor. It spoke in a harsh, clicking language, but the computer translated instantly. "Humans of this world, I am Commander Thralvex of the Vrathix Confederacy. You are now in Vrathix territory. You will surrender your colony immediately. You will serve as workers for our empire. Refuse and we will take this world by force. You have 1 hour to decide." The screen went dark. Silence filled the command center. Everyone stared at Nari, waiting for her to speak. She took a deep breath. Her mind raced through options. They had no warships. Their weapons were meant for hunting animals, not fighting aliens. They could call for help, but the nearest human fleet was weeks away. By then it would be over. "Send a message to Earth," Nari ordered. "Tell them what's happening. Then sound the evacuation alarm. Get everyone to the underground bunkers. Move." People scattered to follow her orders. Nari stood alone for a moment, looking at the dark ships on the screen. The Vrathix were known across the galaxy as conquerors. They took worlds, enslaved populations, and crushed anyone who resisted. They had destroyed 3 other alien civilizations before humans ever left Earth. Daeho, Soman, and Jiwan ran into the command center. "Captain, what's happening?" Daeho asked. "We're under attack," Nari said simply. "I need you 3 to help with the evacuation. Get the children and elderly to the bunkers first. Stay calm, keep people moving. Can you do that?" "Yes, Captain," they said together. "Good, go. And cubs?" They turned back to look at her. "Stay safe, stay together. No matter what happens, you look after each other." "Understand?" They nodded and ran out. 50 minutes later, Nari sent her response to the Vrathix. She had gathered every able fighter in the colony. They numbered only 143. Most were farmers and engineers who had done basic military training years ago. They stood behind her now, armed with whatever weapons they could find. Nari looked into the camera and spoke clearly. Commander Thralvex, this is Captain Han Nari. We reject your demand. This colony belongs to humanity. We will not surrender. We will not serve. If you want this world, you'll have to take it from us. She cut the transmission. The response came quickly. Dozens of small ships launched from the big vessels. They screamed down through the atmosphere, flames trailing behind them. Landing craft full of soldiers. They would be here in minutes. Nari turned to her people. I won't lie to you. We're outnumbered and outgunned, but we're fighting for our homes, for our families, for our right to exist free. The Vrathiks think we're weak because we're human. They think we'll break easily. Let's show them what a mistake that is. Her people cheered. It was not a confident cheer. It was the sound of frightened people choosing courage anyway. The first Vrathik ships landed beyond the colony walls. Hatches opened. Soldiers poured out, at least 200 of them. They were huge, 7 feet tall, covered in natural armor scales. They carried plasma weapons that glowed with deadly energy. Nari stood at the main gate with her defenders. She raised her rifle. Hold this line, she said. Whatever comes through that gate, we hold the line. The Vrathiks advanced. Their commander's voice boomed across the field. Last chance, humans. Surrender or die. Nari fired the first shot. It hit a Vrathik soldier in the chest. The alien stumbled but did not fall. Its armor was too thick. Open fire! Nari shouted. The battle began. Plasma bolts and bullets filled the air. The Vrathiks pushed forward. Humans fell back. It was chaos. It was terror. But nobody ran. They held the line because Nari held it. She fought like a demon, shooting, moving, directing her people. She was everywhere at once, saving lives, taking shots, refusing to give ground. Daeho, Soman, and Jiwon watched from the bunker entrance. They saw their captain fighting. They saw their neighbors dying. Soman started to cry. Jiwon held her. Daeho clenched his fist so hard his knuckles turned white. We should help, Daeho whispered. She told us to stay here, Jiwon said. To protect the people. I know, Daeho said. But look at them. They need everyone. They watched Nari drop another Vrathik soldier. She was magnificent. She was terrifying. She was everything they wanted to be. The sun began to set. The battle continued, and the cubs wondered if they would see their captain alive when morning came. The night brought no rest. Nari and her defenders fought in shifts, always keeping the Vrathiks away from the walls. Bodies lay scattered across the field, both human and alien. The smell of burned metal and blood filled the air. Nari's arms ached from holding her rifle. Her ears rang from the constant gunfire. But she kept fighting. By dawn, they had held the line for 18 hours. Nari counted her remaining fighters, 87. They had lost 56 people. Each loss cut her heart like a knife. These were her people, her friends. She knew their names, their families, their dreams. The Vrathiks had pulled back to regroup. They had not expected this kind of resistance. Humans were supposed to be weak, easy to defeat. But these humans fought with something the Vrathiks did not understand. They fought with love for their home. Commander Thralvex studied the battlefield from his ship. He was angry. His forces had lost over 100 soldiers to these primitive creatures. It was embarrassing. It was unacceptable. He decided to end this quickly. He would bring in the war machines. At midday, the ground shook. 3 massive vehicles rolled across the field toward the colony. They were tanks, but bigger than any human tank. Each one was the size of a house covered in thick armor, with plasma cannons mounted on top. They moved slowly, but nothing could stop them. Nari saw them coming and her blood went cold. They had nothing that could destroy those machines. Their bullets would bounce off. Their explosives were too weak. This was it. This was how they would lose. Fall back to secondary positions, she ordered. Everyone inside the walls. Now her people retreated. The Vrathik soldiers followed behind the war machines, using them as shields. The tanks reached the wall and fired. The plasma cannons roared. The wall exploded in sections, stone and metal flying everywhere. People screamed. The defensive line broke. Vrathik soldiers poured through the gaps. The battle moved into the streets of New Haven, house to house fighting, brutal and close. Nari led a squad to defend the central plaza. They had to keep the enemy away from the bunker entrance. If the Vrathiks found it, everyone inside would die. She shot a Vrathik soldier as it rounded a corner. Then another. Then another. Her team worked together, using buildings for cover. hitting the enemy from unexpected angles. They were losing ground slowly, but they made the Vrathiks pay for every inch. One of the war machines turned down the main street, heading straight for the plaza. Nari saw it and knew what she had to do. She grabbed a pack of explosives from a fallen defender. It was enough to maybe damage the tank, but someone had to get close. Very close. Cover me, she told her squad. Captain, no. Lieutenant Park protested. He was an older man, a veteran of Earth's wars. That's suicide. Then it's suicide, Nari said calmly. But that thing will kill hundreds if we don't stop it. I'm going. She ran before anyone could stop her. Her squad fired at the Vrathiks soldiers, keeping them down. Nari sprinted across the open plaza toward the war machine. Plasma bolts flew past her. One grazed her shoulder, burning through her uniform. She ignored the pain. The tank's cannon turned toward her. She could see it charging, the glow building. She was not going to make it. Time seemed to slow down. She thought about Earth, about her family who died in the last war, about these colonists who trusted her to protect them, about 3 teenagers who called her captain and looked at her like she hung the stars. The cannon fired. Nari dove left. The plasma bolt missed her by inches, scorching the ground where she had been. She rolled to her feet and kept running. The tank was 15 feet away, 10 feet, 5 feet. She jumped onto the tank's side and climbed. Her hands found grips in the armor plating. The tank lurched, trying to shake her off. She held on. At the top, she found the access hatch and placed the explosives. She set the timer. 10 seconds, she jumped off and ran. The explosion came at 7 seconds. The blast threw her forward. She hit the ground hard, sliding across the pavement. Pain shot through her entire body. Behind her, the war machine's top section erupted in flames. The tank stopped moving, smoke pouring from it. Nari struggled to her feet. Her left leg was hurt badly. She could barely stand. But the tank was dead, 1 down, 2 to go. The Vrathiks were furious now. They charged in greater numbers. Nari's squad fell back to the plaza's edge. They were down to 20 fighters now. Everyone else was dead or too wounded to fight. They formed a tight circle around the bunker entrance hidden beneath a collapsed building. This is it, Lieutenant Park said. This is where we hold. This is where we hold, Nari agreed. They fought with everything they had. Every bullet counted. Every shot had to matter. The Vrathiks climbed over their own dead to reach the humans. It was madness. It was courage. It was the last stand of people who refused to die quietly. In the bunker below, Deho paced like a caged animal. He could hear the fighting above. The walls shook with each explosion. Children cried. Adults tried to comfort them. But everyone knew what was happening. Their protectors were dying. I can't take this anymore, Deho said. We have to help. The captain ordered us to stay, Jiwan reminded him. The captain is going to die, Deho shouted.
They all are.
And we're just hiding down here like cowards. Salman stood up. Her face was wet with tears, but her eyes were hard. He's right. We can't just wait. We're trained. We can fight. We should fight. Jiwan looked at them both. He was scared. They all were. But Salman and Deho were right. They were not children anymore. The captain had taught them to be warriors. It was time to prove it. Okay, Jiwan said. Let's go. They grabbed weapons from the bunker's emergency locker. Rifles, grenades, ammunition. They had trained with these weapons hundreds of times. Now they would use them for real. They opened the bunker's side exit and climbed out. The sight that met them was horror. The colony was burning. Bodies everywhere. The plaza was a war zone. And there in the center they saw Captain Nari. She was still standing, still fighting, though blood covered her uniform. Around her, the last defenders made their stand against impossible odds. There, Salman pointed. A group of Vrathiks soldiers was moving to flank Nari's position. They would attack from behind. The captain would not see them coming. We take them, Deho said. Fast and quiet. They moved like Nari had taught them. Low, careful, using cover. They reached a position behind the Vrathiks' flank squad. 10 enemy soldiers focused on the humans ahead, not watching their backs. On 3, Deho whispered. 3, they opened fire. The Vrathiks never knew what hit them. The 3 teenagers shot with precision, just like in training. But this was not training. The aliens fell, purple blood spraying. The sounds were terrible. The smell worse. But Deho, Soman, and Jiwan did not stop. They could not stop. Nari heard the shooting behind the enemy line. She turned and saw 3 familiar figures. No, 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 no. Her cubs, her students. They were supposed to be safe in the bunker. What were they doing here? Fall back, she screamed at them.
Get to safety!
But they did not listen. They advanced, firing, dropping more Vrathic soldiers. They were trying to reach her, trying to help. Brave, foolish children. A Vrathic's war machine turned its cannon toward the teenagers. Nari saw it. She saw the cannon charging. She saw her cubs in the path of death. She ran. Her wounded legs screamed in protest, but she ran anyway. She crossed the plaza in seconds, faster than she had ever moved. The cannon fired. Nari threw herself in front of Soman, pushing the girl aside. The plasma bolt hit Nari in the chest. The impact lifted her off her feet and threw her backward. She landed hard on the red dirt. Steam rose from the massive wound. She could not feel her legs, could not feel anything below her chest. She tried to breathe, but her lungs would not work. Soman screamed. The sound was pure anguish. Daeho and Jiwon ran to Nari's side. They fell to their knees beside her. Jiwon pressed his hands against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. But there was too much blood. It poured between his fingers, soaking the ground. "Captain!" Daeho's voice broke. "No, please, no." Nari looked up at them. Her 3 cubs. They were crying. All 3 of them. She had never seen them cry before. She tried to smile, tried to tell them it was okay, but the words would not come. She reached up with a shaking hand, touched Daeho's face, then Soman's, then Jiwon's, her children, not by blood but by choice, by love, by all the hours spent training, teaching, protecting. "Protect them," she whispered. The words came out bubbling with blood. "Show these bastards what humans become when you hurt our own." Her hand fell. Her eyes closed. Captain Han Nari died in the red dirt of Kepler 442b, surrounded by the children she had saved and the children who loved her. Above them, the Vrathic soldiers advanced, weapons ready. They expected the 3 teenagers to run, to surrender, to beg for mercy. They were wrong. For a moment, nothing moved. Daeho, Soman, and Jiwon knelt in the blood-soaked dirt beside their captain's body. The world seemed to stop. No sound, no movement. Just 3 teenagers and the woman who had meant everything to them. Then something broke inside them. Or maybe something was born. The grief that flooded through them was like nothing they had ever felt. It was crushing, overwhelming. It filled every part of their being until there was room for nothing else. No, not nothing else. There was one more thing. One feeling that rose up alongside the grief, fed by it, shaped by it, made terrible by it. Rage. Soman stood first. Her whole body shook, but not from fear, from fury. Tears ran down her face, but her jaw was set hard. She picked up her rifle and checked the ammunition. Full magazine. Good. Jiwon stood next. His gentle face had changed. The softness was gone. His eyes were cold now. Empty. He looked at the Vrathic soldiers approaching and felt nothing but the need to destroy them. All of them. Daeho stood last. He looked down at Nari one final time. Her face was peaceful now. The pain was gone. She had given everything to protect them, to protect everyone, and now it was their turn. "We hold the line," Daeho said quietly. His voice did not shake. "We hold it here, at her body. They don't get past us." "They don't get past us," Soman repeated. "They don't get past us," Jiwon finished. The 3 teenagers spread out in a triangle formation around Nari's body. They raised their weapons. 30 Vrathic soldiers approached, confident in their victory. These were just children. Crying children. Easy targets, the Vrathic's commander called out in their clicking language. The translator device spoke. "Surrender, young humans. You cannot win." "We will make your deaths quick," Daeho answered in perfect Vrathic's language. Nari had taught them alien languages as part of their training. His pronunciation was flawless. His message was simple. "Run," the Vrathics laughed. They raised their weapons and advanced. Daeho moved first. He dropped to one knee and fired 3 shots. 3 Vrathic soldiers fell, each with a bullet through their eye slits where the armor was weakest. Nari had taught them that. Find the weakness. Exploit it. Never waste ammunition. Soman threw a grenade. It arced perfectly through the air and landed in the middle of a group of 5 soldiers. The explosion scattered them like toys. The ones that survived stumbled, disoriented. Soman shot them while they were confused. 5 more dead. Jiwon fired in controlled bursts. Each burst dropped a soldier. He aimed for joints where the armor connected. Shoulders, knees, necks. The Vrathics were tough, but their armor had gaps. G1 found every single one. In 30 seconds, 15 Vrathic soldiers lay dead or dying. The remaining 15 stopped their advance. This was not possible. These were children. How were children doing this? But Deho, Soman, and G1 were not just children anymore. They were weapons. Nari had spent years shaping them, teaching them, preparing them for exactly this moment. Every drill, every lesson, every story she told about past battles. It had all been training. And now that training activated like a program running in their minds, they moved without thinking. Muscle memory took over. They changed positions constantly so the enemy could not pin them down. They covered each other's blind spots. They communicated with hand signals Nari had taught them. They fought as a single unit. The Vrathics fell back to regroup. Their commander was furious. He screamed orders at his troops. They had to kill these humans. This was humiliating. Deho used the brief pause to assess their situation. They were low on ammunition. Maybe 2 magazines each left. They had 3 grenades between them. Against hundreds of Vrathic soldiers and 2 more war machines. The numbers were impossible. "We can't win this," Jiwan said, reloading his rifle. His hands moved automatically, not wasting a single motion. "Doesn't matter," Soman said. "We hold them here, long enough for help to arrive, or long enough to kill as many as possible before they kill us." Deho looked at the bunker entrance behind them. 3,000 people down there, families, children, old people, all depending on them. Nari had died protecting that entrance. Now it was their turn. "Command center," Deho said suddenly. "The colony defense systems. Nari showed me how to access them once. Said I should know in case of emergency. I think this counts as an emergency." "Can you activate them from here?" Jiwan asked. "No, I need to get to the command center. It's 2 blocks away." "That's suicide," Samin said. "There are Vrathics everywhere between here and there." "Then cover me," Deho said. "Draw their attention. Give me a chance to run for it." Jiwan and Soman looked at each other. It was a desperate plan, but all their plans were desperate now. They nodded. "Go," Soman said. "We'll make them look at us," Deho ran. He sprinted toward the command center, moving from cover to cover. Behind him, Soman and Jiwan opened fire on every Vrathic soldier they could see. They shouted, screamed, made themselves the center of attention. The aliens turned their weapons toward the 2 teenagers. Plasma bolts filled the air. Soman dove behind a destroyed vehicle. G1 rolled behind a wall section. They fired back, dropped 2 more soldiers, then moved again. "Keep moving," Nari's voice in their heads. "A moving target is harder to hit." Deho reached the command center. The door was broken from earlier fighting. He climbed through and found the main console. It was still powered. Good. He entered the access codes Nari had taught him. The screen came alive. Colony Defense Grid Offline Manual Activation Required Warning. Automated defenses will target all non-human entities. Deho's fingers flew across the keyboard. He activated every system. Automated turrets hidden in buildings. Mines buried in the streets. Defensive drones stored in underground hangars, everything. He set them all to full automatic mode. Target anything with Vrathic's life signs. The colony came alive with death. Turrets emerged from rooftops and opened fire. The Vrathic soldiers caught in the streets screamed as bullets tore through them. Mines exploded under their feet. Drones flew overhead, dropping small bombs on enemy positions. The defense grid that Nari had spent years building activated all at once. Commander Thralvex watched from his ship in orbit. His face twisted in rage. These humans. These primitive, weak humans. They were making fools of his army. This could not stand. He would level the entire colony. Kill every living thing. Turn it all to ash, he gave the order. His ship's main weapons charged up. They would fire from orbit. Destroy everything. Back on the ground, Soman saw the turrets activating. She laughed. Actually laughed. "Deho, you beautiful genius." The Vrathics were panicking now. They fell back in disorder, trying to escape the automated defenses. But the system was designed to make escape difficult. Every path led to another turret, another mine, another trap. Jiwan joined Soman behind cover. They were both breathing hard, both wounded. Jiwan had a plasma burn on his arm. Soman had a cut above her eye that kept bleeding into her vision. But they were alive, and the Vrathics were dying. Deho ran back from the command center. He slid into cover beside them. Did it work? Look around, Soman said, gesturing at the chaos. It worked. We're still going to die, Jiwan said practically. Look up, they looked. In orbit, they could see the glow of charging weapons on the Vrathix flagship. An orbital strike. It would kill them. Kill everyone in the bunker. Destroy the whole colony. The Vrathix had decided if they could not take this world, no one would have it. We need to send the bunker deeper, Deho said. There's emergency tunnels that go down another 100 meters. They might survive the strike if they get there in time. How do we tell them? Soman asked. The bunker has emergency speakers, Jiwan said. From the command center. We can broadcast to them. Deho ran back one more time. His legs were burning with exhaustion, but he pushed through. He reached the command center and activated the bunker speakers. This is Deho. Orbital strike incoming. Everyone to the deep tunnels now. Move fast. You have maybe 5 minutes, he hoped they heard. Hoped they would move fast enough. He ran back to join Somin and Jiwan. The 3 teenagers stood together at the plaza's center. Around them, the automated defenses kept firing. The Vrathix kept dying. But above them, death charged its weapons. They all knew what was coming. Should we run? Soman asked. Not afraid. Just curious. Where to? Jiwan said. If we run, we abandon them. The people in the bunker, they're still getting to safety. Then we hold the line, Deho said. Just like the captain. They stood over Nari's body. 3 teenagers who had become something more. Something fierce. Something the galaxy would soon learn to fear. They raised their weapons one more time and kept fighting. Every second they held the line was another second for people to reach safety. Another life saved. Another chance at survival. The Vrathix soldiers retreated further. The war machines pulled back. Commander Thralvex screamed at his troops, but they would not advance. These humans. These 3 young humans. They had broken a professional military force. In orbit, the weapons finished charging. The order was given. Fire. But before the weapons could discharge, something else happened. The sky split open, tears in space itself, and through those tears came ships. Human ships. A full battle fleet. They had received the distress call. They had come at maximum speed. They were here. The lead ship was a dreadnought, massive and deadly. Its name was painted on the hull, Indomitable. A message broadcast to the Vrathix fleet. This is Admiral Kim Tae-woo of the Human Defense Fleet. You are in violation of 15 in the space above Kepler 442b turned into a battlefield. Human ships unleashed everything they had. Missiles streaked through the void. Railgun rounds traveled at impossible speeds. Energy beams cut through Vrathix hulls like they were paper. The aliens had expected an easy conquest. They found hell instead. On the ground, Deho, Soman, and Jiwan watched the sky light up with explosions. The Vrathix flagship tried to run. It never made it out of orbit. 3 human destroyers bracketed it with fire. The massive ship broke apart in a silent explosion that lit up the sky like a second sun. The remaining Vrathix ships were destroyed or captured within an hour. It was not a battle. It was an execution. The Human Defense Fleet showed no mercy to those who attacked civilians. That was the law. That was justice. Landing craft descended from the human ships. Marines poured out, fully armed and ready for combat. But the ground battle was already over. The automated defenses had done their work. Vrathix bodies littered the streets. The few survivors had surrendered, throwing down their weapons and begging for mercy. Admiral Kim Tae-woo landed with the first wave. He was a tall man with gray hair and hard eyes that had seen too many wars. He walked through the destroyed colony, his face grim. So much damage, so many dead. This should never have happened. He found the 3 teenagers in the plaza. They stood over a woman's body, rifles still in their hands, covered in blood and dirt and burns. They looked more like ghosts than living people. But they stood straight, defiant even now. Who's in command here? The Admiral asked. Captain Han Nari was, Deho said. He pointed down at her body. She held the line. She saved us all, and she died doing it. The Admiral looked at Nari's body. He saw the wound, saw how she had positioned herself, saw the scorch marks on the ground around her. He understood what had happened here. A captain protecting her people to the very end. He had seen this before. It never got easier. And you 3? He asked. You're just kids. Why aren't you in the bunkers? Because she needed us, Somin said simply. Because everyone needed us, so we fought. The Admiral studied them more carefully. 3 teenagers who had just survived a battle that should have killed them. They should be crying, shaking, breaking down. Instead, they stood like soldiers. Like warriors. What had they been through to become like this? How many Vrathiks did you account for? He asked. The 3 looked at each other. They had not been counting. They had just been fighting, surviving, killing anything that threatened their home. I don't know, Jiwan admitted. A lot. Maybe 50 between the 3 of us before the defense grid activated. After that, the systems did most of the work. 50. 3 teenagers had killed 50 enemy soldiers. The Admiral had seen veterans who could not claim numbers like that.
He felt a chill run down his spine.
These were not normal kids. This colony had forged something dangerous here. Come with me, he said. All 3 of you. We need to debrief you, get you medical attention, and get you somewhere safe. We're not leaving her, Deho said flatly. Not until she's been taken care of properly. The Admiral nodded slowly. He recognized that tone. That absolute refusal to abandon the fallen. We'll take care of her. I promise you. She'll be honored as a hero, because that's what she was. They allowed medics to treat their wounds after that. Burns bandaged, cuts cleaned, broken ribs wrapped. The medics worked quickly, amazed that these 3 were still standing. By all rights, they should be dead 10 times over. The bunker doors opened. People emerged slowly, carefully, shocked by the destruction above ground. 3,000 colonists had survived in the deep tunnels. They looked around at their destroyed homes, their burning buildings, their dead defenders. Many cried. Some fell to their knees. Then they saw the 3 teenagers, saw them standing in the plaza, wounded but alive. A cheer went up. People ran to them, hugging them, thanking them, crying with relief. Deho, Sumin, and Jiwan stood awkwardly, unsure how to handle this attention. They had just done what needed doing. What the captain had trained them to do. An old woman pushed through the crowd. It was Mrs. Kim, who had invited them to dinner just yesterday. Was it only yesterday? It felt like years ago. She looked at them with tears streaming down her face. You saved us, she said. You children saved us all. Captain Nari saved us, Soman corrected quietly. We just tried to be worthy of her teaching. Over the next few days, the full story of the battle emerged. The Human Defense Fleet interviewed survivors. They reviewed security camera footage. They analyzed the tactical decisions made during the defense. The more they learned, the more impressed they became. Captain Han Nari had conducted a textbook defense against impossible odds. She had bought time for evacuation. She had made the enemy pay for every meter of ground. She had inspired her people to fight beyond their limits. Her last stand would be studied in military academies for generations, but it was the 3 teenagers who captured the galaxy's attention. The footage of their fight spread across human space. People watched in awe as 3 kids with basic training held off a professional military force. They watched Deho activate the defense grid under fire. They watched Sumin's perfect grenade throws. They watched Jiwan's precise shooting. But most of all, they watched the moment when Nari fell and the 3 teenagers transformed from kids into killers. The media called them heroes. They called them the cubs of Kepler 442b. They called them humanity's future. Deho, Soman, and Jiwan hated all the attention. They were not heroes. They were just 3 kids who had lost their mother and fought back. The funerals came next. 197 colonists had died in the battle. Each one got a proper service. Each one was honored. Captain Han Nari was buried with full military honors. Admiral Tewu himself gave the eulogy. Thousands watched via live broadcast across human space. Captain Nari represented the best of humanity, the Admiral said, standing before her flag-draped coffin. She was a protector, a teacher, a leader who put her people before herself. She gave everything so that others might live. There is no greater sacrifice. There is no higher honor. We will remember her. We will honor her. And we will ensure that her sacrifice was not in vain. Deho, Somin, and Jiwon stood at attention beside the coffin. They wore new uniforms now. The Admiral had commissioned them as junior officers on the spot. They had earned it in blood. They wore their ranks, but they felt like frauds. They were not officers. They were just cubs who had lost their mother. After the funeral, Admiral Tewu pulled them aside. I have a question for you 3, he said. What do you want to do now? You've been through hell. No one would blame you if you wanted to go somewhere quiet and try to forget. Forget. Deho's voice was cold. Forget what they did? Forget what we lost? No, the Admiral said. I didn't think you would. So let me ask differently. Do you want to fight? The three looked at each other. Did they want to fight? They had just lived through the worst day of their lives. They had killed. They had watched friends die. They had held their captain as she bled out. Normal people would run from that, would want peace, but they were not normal anymore. Something had changed in them during that battle. Something fundamental. They had learned what they were capable of, what they could become when pushed to the edge. And they had learned something else, too. They had learned to hate, yes, Soman said. We want to fight. The Vrathiks need to learn, Jiwan added. They need to understand what happens when you hurt humans, when you hurt our families. We want to make sure no other colony goes through what we went through. Deho finished. We want to protect people, like she protected us, the Admiral smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who recognized fellow predators. Good, because I'm forming a special operations unit. Small teams trained to respond to threats like this, fast, brutal, effective. I want you three for the first team. We're still teenagers, Jiwan pointed out, barely trained. You held off a professional military force, the Admiral said. You activated colony defenses under fire. You fought with coordination that takes most soldiers years to develop. You have something most soldiers never get. You have fire, motivation, and you have each other. That's worth more than any amount of training. When do we start? Deho asked. Now, the Admiral said. We leave tomorrow. You'll train on the way. By the time we reach the training facility, you'll be ready. They packed that night. Not that they had much to pack. The battle had destroyed most of their belongings, but there were a few things worth saving. Photos, mementos, letters. Memories of a life before the war came to their doorstep. Mrs. Kim found them at their temporary quarters. She brought food, because that's what she always did when people were hurting. She sat with them while they ate. Your captain would be proud, she said. You know that, right? She trained you to be protectors, and that's what you became. We couldn't save her, Soman said quietly. What kind of protectors couldn't save their own captain? The kind who saved 3,000 other people, Mrs. Kim said firmly. The kind who gave her sacrifice meaning. She died so you could live, so we could all live. Don't dishonor that by drowning in guilt. Honor it by living, by fighting, by being the warriors she knew you could be. 2 years passed. 2 years of training, fighting, bleeding, and winning. Deho, Somin, and Jiwan became everything Admiral Tewu had hoped and more. They became the tip of humanity's spear. When colonies were threatened, they responded. When pirates raided settlements, they were there. When the Vrathiks or other hostile species tested human borders, the three cubs showed them why that was a mistake. Their reputation spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Other species spoke about them in hushed tones. The three, the cubs, the humans who fought like demons and never lost. Stories grew with each telling, some true, some exaggerated, but all carrying the same message. Do not threaten what these three protect. They were 19 and 18 now, but they had the eyes of people much older. War aged you fast. They had seen 37 combat operations. They had saved thousands of lives. They had killed hundreds of enemies. Each mission added another layer to who they had become, but they never forgot where they started. Never forgot who made them. Every night before sleep, each of them thought of Captain Nari, remembered her lessons, her voice, her sacrifice. She lived on in them, in every tactical decision, every act of protection, every moment they chose courage over fear. The Vrathiks Confederacy never attacked another human colony. The loss at Kepler 442b had shaken them deeply. They had lost nearly 300 soldiers and 5 ships to a poorly defended civilian settlement. The embarrassment was bad enough, but then the stories spread. Stories about 3 human children who fought like ancient warriors. The Vrathiks were not used to being afraid. Now they were, other species noticed. If the mighty Vrathiks feared these humans, perhaps everyone should reconsider how they treated humanity. Human colonies stopped being targets. Human ships moved through space unmolested. The galaxy learned a hard lesson. Humans were dangerous not despite their bonds, but because of them. Touch one. Face the fury of all. Admiral Tewu watched the 3 cubs grow into legends and felt a complex mix of pride and sadness. Pride because they were extraordinary. Sadness because they had been forced to become this. They should have been in school, dating, worrying about normal teenage things. Instead, they were his best operatives shaped by tragedy into weapons. One day he called them to his office on the command ship. They arrived promptly as always. They wore their uniforms with the same precision Nari had taught them. They stood at attention even though he had told them 100 times they did not need to be so formal with him. At ease, he said. They relaxed slightly but never fully. Always ready. Always alert. I have news. The Defense Council is creating a new position. Rapid Response Commander. Small teams, quick deployment, protect colonies on the frontier. They want you three to lead it. Lead it? Salman asked. Sir, there are officers with decades more experience, and none of them have done what you've done, the Admiral replied. The Council studied every mission. You have a perfect record. 0 civilian casualties. 0 mission failures. You work together like you share one mind. That's not something you can teach. That's something special. Deho frowned. This is because we're famous, isn't it? Because we're the Cubs everyone talks about. It's politics. Partly, the Admiral admitted. But mostly it's because you're the best, and because you understand something most soldiers don't. You know what it's like when no one comes to help, when you're alone against impossible odds, when you have to stand and fight because there's no other choice. That understanding makes you the right people for this job. They looked at each other, having silent conversations the way they often did now, weighing the decision, considering the implications. Finally, Jiwon spoke for all of them. If we do this, we do it our way. We choose our teams. We train them properly, and we never ever leave people behind. Those are our terms, agreed, the Admiral said immediately. Build your teams. Train them how you see fit. Just keep doing what you've been doing. Keep saving lives, they accepted. Within 6 months, they had recruited and trained 5 teams of operators. 24 people total, all volunteers, all tested in combat. They taught these teams everything Nari had taught them. How to think, how to move, how to fight when fighting seemed impossible. But more importantly, they taught them why to fight. Not for glory, not for honor, not for medals or recognition, but for the people who could not fight for themselves, for families who just wanted to live in peace, for children who deserved to grow up safe. That was the mission. That was everything. The program was called the Kepler Defense Initiative, KDI for short, but everyone called them the Cubs. The original 3 were Team Alpha. They led from the front, as always. They took the hardest missions, the most dangerous operations, the impossible situations, and they won every time. Other species began to respect humanity in ways they never had before. Not because of humanity's technology or numbers or resources, but because of what humans did for each other, how they protected their own, how they transformed pain into purpose and grief into strength. 5 years after the battle on Kepler 442b, the 3 Cubs returned home. The colony had been rebuilt bigger and better than before. 10,000 people lived there now. The streets bustled with life. Children played in parks. Markets thrived. It was everything Nari had fought to protect. They visited the monument in the plaza. The statue of Captain Nari stood as tall and proud as the day it was erected. Flowers lay at the base. Fresh ones. Even after 5 years, people still brought flowers. Still remembered. Still honored the woman who had saved them. Deho placed his hand on the statue's base. We did it, Captain. We made sure it counted. Made sure no one else has to go through what we did. We're still holding the line, Soman added. Just like you taught us. Jiwan was quiet as always, but he pulled something from his pocket. A medal. The Star of Valor, humanity's highest military honor. He set it at the statue's feet. This belongs to you, he said quietly. They gave it to us, but it's yours. Everything we did because of you. Mrs. Kim found them there. She was older now, more gray in her hair, but her smile was as warm as ever. She hugged each of them tightly. Look at you, she said. All grown up, famous across the galaxy. But still my kids who need feeding, they laughed. It felt good to laugh. They did not laugh enough these days. She brought them to her home and cooked for them. The same dishes she had made 5 years ago. They ate and talked, and for a few hours they were not the legendary Cubs. They were just Deho, Soman, and Jiwan. 3 friends who had survived hell together. Do you ever regret it? Mrs. Kim asked as they helped her clean up. The path you chose? You could have gone anywhere, done anything. But you chose war. We chose protection, Deho corrected. There's a difference. The captain taught us something, Sumin said. She showed us that when you have the power to help, you have the responsibility to help. We can fight, we can protect, so we do. Besides, Jiwan added with a small smile, someone has to make sure the galaxy remembers what happens when you threaten humans. When you hurt our families, we're the reminder. That night they slept in their old quarters. The beds were the same, the rooms unchanged, but they were different. They had been children here once. Now they were warriors, leaders, legends. In the morning they stood at the memorial one last time before leaving. A group of children had gathered, staring at them with wide eyes. The famous cubs, the heroes. One little girl, maybe 6 years old, worked up the courage to approach. "Are you really them?" she asked. "The ones who fought the monsters?" Soman knelt down to the girl's eye level. "We fought bad people who hurt our home, just like your parents would fight for you. That's what families do. They protect each other." "I want to be like you when I grow up," the girl said. "Then be brave," Deho said. "Be kind. Look after people who need help. That's what the captain taught us. That's what matters. And if someone needs protecting?" the girl asked. The 3 cubs looked at each other, then back at the girl. G1 answered, his voice gentle but firm. "Then you stand up. You hold the line. You never leave them behind. That's the human way." They left Kepler 442b that afternoon. Their ship rose into the sky, heading back to the defense fleet, back to their teams, back to the missions that always waited. But they carried the colony with them, in their hearts, in their purpose. In every decision they made, the galaxy had tried to break humanity at Kepler 442b. Instead, it had created something it never expected. It had shown humans what they could become when pushed to the edge. It had taught humanity to be dangerous, and the cubs, the 3 children who had cried when their mother fell, had learned the lesson best of all. They had snarled at the enemy and said, "Run." The galaxy had learned to listen. In military academies across human space, the Battle of Kepler 442b was studied. Young officers analyzed the tactics, studied the decisions, learned from the sacrifice, and every single class ended the same way, with the instructor saying, "Captain Han Nari held the line." Then she passed that duty to 3 students. Those students became our finest warriors. They honored her memory by doing what she did, by protecting those who could not protect themselves. That is our tradition. That is our way. When we fall, others rise. When darkness comes, we bring light. When evil threatens our families, we show them what humans become.